Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insights to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, welcome. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, president and founder of the Philantrepreneur and its foundation, and editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal, and my great co-host, Heidi Anderson, founder of the Foundation to Foster Empowerment and Credit Cares, and president of Electronic Commerce International. We are thrilled to bring tips, strategies, and insight for the socially conscious business and nonprofit sectors. Heidi, do you believe in synchronicity, meaningful coincidences, laws of attraction, just putting it out there in the universe and things happening?
Well, I do, Victoria. I mean, that's actually really how we met, I mean, it was, you put it out on Facebook that you were looking for business owners that serve nonprofits and businesses, and I didn't even know you at the time, so I'm really not even sure how I saw the post, but I went, yeah, that's Electronic Commerce International's Credit Cares Division. We help nonprofits raise money, and we help businesses make a contribution at no additional cost to them while they're both saving money. So it really completely fit your definition you put out there. So I sent you a message, and you called me back, and we had lunch when I was in Las Vegas, and as we hit it off so well, we were just talking and laughing, and the waiter walked up to us and said, "You guys must be really old friends that are catching up on." And we're like, "No, really, we just met."
Right.
So it really is and I'd already had this idea to have a blog talk radio show about businesses and nonprofits creating win-win relationships. Had no idea what to call it or anything, but I had your card sitting there from our meeting, and I thought, Victoria would be a great guest for that. So I gave you a call, and you said, you've been thinking about doing a radio show for a few months, and I ended up just saying, hey, why don't we just co-host, and then you, of course, you already had the perfect name, the Philantrepreneur, and here we are. We've been doing this for a year and a half. And then what's really cool is that we've learned so much. We've had so many great guests and just gotten to know each other better and better. And when I started creating the Foundation to Foster Empowerment to stop the cycle of homelessness and hopelessness for youth aging out of foster care, I really knew nothing about the nonprofit world. I just knew I wanted to make a difference in these kids' lives, and so of course there you were as a nonprofit expert, as my board member and a mentor, and I'm just thrilled to death. It's like our relationship is I would say is a huge example of synchronicity. And, I really feel that when we're on our right spiritual path and with a real certainty and desire to, not just for ourselves alone, but to help other people, that God or, the universe, whatever people would like to call it, starts really pulling together the right people, and everything just kind of happens at its right and perfect time. And, honestly, I could go on and on about the happy coincidences that have been happening to further the mission of my foundation, but, we really need to have time for our guest.
And that's absolutely right. And I know that's how we met and worked together, now for almost 2 years. And recently, I have been experiencing a lot more of these coincidences or synchronicity, all which turned out to be exciting and very, very valuable connections. And I'm just going to keep that door open for more. Things are just happening, and here's just a little example of what I mean. I was traveling in the car on a journey, as an entrepreneur and now the Philantrepreneur Foundation, there's so many great needs to learn in so many aspects of marketing, communication, current trends, and the power of the Internet. If you remember, my career started as a high school teacher. We didn't need marketing, networking, advertising. It's just you stand there and your clients, the students, come to you. It's just not a part of the educator's world, and nor do we really learn about it. But things have really changed for me, and I'm definitely experiencing the power of the Internet. But going back to synchronicity, back in January, on a road trip to California. My husband was driving. My phone rings, and usually I don't answer unfamiliar calls, but for some reason I just, I'm picking up. I'm just riding. No real agenda going on. Again, the universe guided me in this. I answered, and boy, am I glad I did. And as we both exclaimed later, it was synchronicity that we connected right at that time. The caller was Kellen Kautzman. He indicated he was doing research and came across the Philantrepreneur and said to himself, what the heck? I'll just give them a call. Boom, synchronicity. Not only has Kellen been a valuable asset, we have so much in common. But I'll let him tell you his story. Let's welcome Kellen Kautzman, partner and director of operation at Advise Media Group. Advise Media Group is a multifaceted advertising company that works with clients to create and maximize their internet presence. As a former teacher, that's what immediately caught my attention. And, I just love his enthusiasm. He has great projects going on, especially What Every Dog Deserves. He'll tell you more about that. But, Kellen, say hi to our listeners, and please tell us your story.
Hey, everyone. Dr. Boyd Heidi, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure, and I'm very excited to be here. One of the things that I often think about when I'm driving in, I'm listening to radio shows, is the authenticity of the speaker, and so I just want to speak to that prior to me going into my history. It is my full intention to be as authentic as I can possibly be, and to share the information that I've learned over the last few years in the most meaningful way possible.
Thank you.
So, of course, with that in mind, I grew up in a small town in North Dakota called Mandan. It's the one suburb of Bismarck, North Dakota, and both my parents were teachers, and so I definitely kind of was going to follow that path. It seemed kind of preordained, if you will, and I left at 18. I went to the University of Minnesota, where I studied Spanish in undergrad, and then immediately went into a graduate program where I got my Master's of Education in ESL and Spanish instruction. So anyone who's taught for the first 3 years knows that you get beat up a little bit. It's a challenge. Those first few years they'll really test you, and I'm so glad I did, because I'll be sitting in a conference room with 8 or 9 people, and I'm not even batting an eye, because that's a small classroom to me. And all of the adrenaline and the overcoming of fears in public speaking and all these things, and mastering a classroom, or at least being competent in one, are skills that absolutely translate into the world of business. And so when I was teaching, I knew that I wanted to do something else. All due respect to teachers, amazing. I actually want to get back into teaching, but through consulting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But when I was teaching, I wanted to, make more money, to be quite honest. And so, as I'm sure many teachers can understand, so at night I would come home, and I found these avenues online that were really fascinating at the time, let's say 2006. Associated Content was one of them. It was a network through Yahoo, and then BrightHub, which was kind of like an educator's resource. You could write for these particular websites, and they would pay you X amount of dollars for the number of views you would receive, right? So the beauty in this was that you could make passive income based on the number of views over time. So once you wrote it, it was done, but you would continue to make money in the weeks and months that followed. So I would do the math in my head going, okay, well, if I write a blog and it gets 1,000 views per month, and that gives me $2, then 1,000 blogs would be $2,000 a month. So if I write 2,000 blogs, that's $4,000 a month. I can retire.
That's a lot of writing.
That's, I love it. I mean, that's my personality. I love the goal, and then just work towards it. So I'd be writing a blog or two a day. On the weekends, I would do more, and teachers' schedules have some flexibility in terms of random days off, that kind of thing. And I didn't have kids at the time, so I turned I guess like my hobby into writing. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And my goal was to get to 1 million views, right? Let's see if I can get to 1 million views as one of the goals along the way. So I was at about 20 to 30,000 views a month from these articles when my wife and I thought, maybe we should take advantage of the real estate market being absolutely decimated and move somewhere more sunny, right? So she hopped on a plane and was in Las Vegas with a real estate agent. I followed her the next day, and we were just amazed, because in Minnesota there's no chance you could get a nice house for anywhere near the amount of money we had at the time. So long story short, we ended up moving to Las Vegas, and it was the perfect time to make a career change. And Dr. Boyd clearly could elaborate on this further, given the fact that she's the author of The Wealthy Teacher, answering the question, what's next? But I took a pay cut, and I joined a company called Advise Media Group doing, guess what?
Blogging.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. Right. So I'm the writing guy. And so little did I know at the time, blogging is 90% of SEO. It's a huge portion of ranking in search engines is writing. It's just writing. And I had been doing it. I didn't really know what I was doing. And so basically I transferred the skills I learned getting views for myself, and I started doing it for businesses. So it's very similar. There's some slight differences. And then I just grew from there. So I started as the blogger, and then I was the guy who was managing a couple bloggers, and then I was the guy who was managing a team of bloggers throughout the nation, and then I was the guy who was managing the person who was managing the bloggers. And now I'm, a partner in the company, and I get to do fun stuff like this, which I absolutely love, meeting people and just hearing stories and helping businesses.
Well, I know, blogging has become so and has been important for a while, and writing is not one. I mean, I'm a decent writer. I just not something I really enjoy, and neither does my husband, who's my business partner. So it's one of those things where we're sorely lacking is in the world of blogging. And I know, Victoria, you mentioned that this whole SEO, the algorithm stuff, and everything is above your head too. And it's a lot when you know your business. I mean, we know credit card processing inside and out, the nonprofit world inside and out. But to really know SEO and to get somebody that you trust, because you get calls all day long from people saying, "Oh, we're going to get you ranked on the first page of Google. We're going to do this. We're going to do that," and hundreds of thousands of dollars later, you've made no progress. So, if you've hired an internet marketing company, how can you judge their work?
That's a great question. But quickly before I answer that, one of the reasons I want to get into consulting, and I'm actually just I'm pursuing that aggressively now, but is because if you understand at least the mechanics of it, you can manage your own SEO program, and you don't have to write. You can buy all of these things yourself, and I'll get into that later. But if you do have an internet marketing company and you are looking to judge their work, put on your teacher hat, right, and look at the blog. Just read it. Say, "Where's my blog?" You might not even know where your blog is, right? Where's my blog? And then read it. Is it any good? Right? Yeah. How many social shares are there? Right? Are people sharing it on Facebook or not? Is the SEO company sharing that information on social media platforms? Just check the big ones: Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Is it there? Is anyone sharing it? Does anyone care? How often are they blogging? Are they blogging once a week? Is it biweekly? Is it completely random? How organized are they? I mean, does it come out every Monday at 10 o'clock? If so, why 10? Why not 2? Is there any reason why they chose 10 instead of 2? Like, why are they doing these things, right, on your behalf, and how often are they doing it? So really, blogging is 90% of it. Now, you can call any SEO company, including Advise Media Group, and they can do an audit, and there cannot be all this technical information. And the honest truth is that most SEO companies will throw in all this technical stuff just because they know that the typical client doesn't know the difference, and they just think they need it. Right? It's an absolute trick, right? It's just silly.
Good to know.
It's so silly. It's so silly because at the end of the day, all you're doing is writing about the things that are relevant to that industry. So relevancy is key. So if you read the blog and you said credit card processing, to use that as an example. So if there are stories that are related to that, that's great. Or even if they're about credit cards, or even if they're just about credit, that's okay. But if it's, kind of way sideways and it has nothing to do with credit and they're just talking about saving money, it's a little bit too off topic, because basically Google reads every word of your website and assigns significance, right? So, and they're smart cookies. I mean, they know that credit, interest, finance, money, all of these things, processing, they know that all of those words exist under the vertical of credit card processing. So let's say 10 years ago, you could just stuff a page with credit card processing. You could just say that word a lot. That doesn't work anymore. So Google knows that you're trying to trick it. So really, natural language is the best way to go.
Okay. Hey, you brought it down and broke it down for this old-time teacher here. So you gave us the confidence that we actually don't have to be intimidated by SEO and what it really means. So what are some of the components of a successful SEO program?
Good question. So as I mentioned, blogging is integral. You can think of Google also as a teacher. Let's call her Mrs. Google. You have to turn in your homework, right? If you don't turn in your homework, you fail. And blogging is that homework. Now, if you turn in the homework and you plagiarized it, you're not going to pass, right? So it has to be unique, right? If you turn in your homework and there's a bunch of spelling and grammatical errors, also not going to pass. If you turn in your homework and it isn't relevant, right, to your industry, you're not going to pass. So those are three keys. So that's blogging. Social media is very important, but don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in social media if your business isn't a great fit, right? So if you own a retro clothesline, wonderful. It's sexy, it's fun, people want to share it, that's great. If you're an auto mechanic, the only thing people want are coupons. That's all they want from you, right? Just save me money, right? And the only reason I'm going to like some of these Facebook pages is if I'm going to save money in that regard, right? So really know your industry. So is it important that you post your blogs on social media? Absolutely. But you can automate that. You don't need to be going in and manually, trying to, figure out these posts that nobody's going to see, right? So just be realistic about your social media and your company and whether or not it's a good fit. That's very important. And then moving on, link building. Link building is this buzzword that is so difficult for people to really understand, and it's so silly. I'll give you two examples of link building. One is the bad way of doing it, and the other is the good way of doing it. I'll start with the bad way. You can go onto a site called Fiverr. I'm not sure if you've heard of Fiverr or not. It's just a whole bunch of people selling things for $5. Yeah. And you can build 10,000 links for $5 today, right? Now, those links pointing back to your site are going to hurt you, right? Because there's no way that there's value in those links. It's cheating, basically, right? There are a bunch of just spammy websites that are going to point back to your site. Mrs. Google is going to look at it, and it would be almost as if you're a student and you have chicken scratch handwriting, and then all of a sudden you turn in an assignment with gorgeous, beautiful cursive, and it's like you look at it and it's like this is so obviously cheating. Like, why would you even try this? Right. So there's link building in that regard, and then there's link building in the following way, and this is really the one piece that I wish my clients understood more. Here's link building. Link building is going on to a social network like LinkedIn, for example, engaging someone in a legitimate conversation, or maybe calling someone who's on their way to California and talking to them, right? And moments later, right? Moments later, there's a link on the Philantrepreneur website to Advise Media Group. It's in the lower right-hand corner, and I don't even remember the exact moment when I asked for that. But I have a link from a legitimate website, right, from a legitimate relationship of mine going to the homepage of my website from the homepage of her website. That is money in my pocket, right? Because my rankings will improve, and that's link building, right? So get away from the, I'm going to go buy links or whatever, and just establish relationships with people, because people are websites, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then last but not least, competitive analysis. So if you are just struggling to figure out why someone else is winning, just look at their website. See if there's anything they're doing that you're not. Here's a great example. I sat down with a gentleman who owns a nonprofit. They do great work. It's a NevadaStudentCare.org, where they charge half as much as you would normally pay at like a Sylvan, right? Because they don't pay taxes and blah, blah, blah. So when I look at his SEO possibilities, his potential, it's actually really quite difficult because the people in the first slots for terms like Reading Tutor Las Vegas are Sylvan. Sylvan is massive, right? Their marketing budget is astronomical, right? And their website is super clean. They have tens of thousands of links pointing back to their website. It would be silly to assume that we can beat them, right? And so there is a piece of like a reality check that sometimes has to occur. People think SEO is like, oh, I can win and I just need to hire the right company. Well, that's not always true. Sometimes you are just outgunned, and it's important to understand that.
Okay.
That isn't, because we kind of ran into that, because credit card processing is extremely competitive, and there are people who got into it way before we did as far as the internet marketing aspect of it, and we have hired, so many different companies that are like, oh, we're going to get you here, we're going to get you there, you're going to end up with this many leads and and it's so far really has not worked out that way. And so for a company who, like I said, who's David against Goliath, what would your suggestions be?
Call me.
Love it.
Perfect. That was perfect translation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But seriously, outside of consulting with someone who isn't afraid to say no, you can do things on your own. And you have to chip away at it, and you have to understand that you're running a marathon. You're not sprinting. So there definitely are things you have to be blogging. You have to be blogging at least once a week. You have to get those blogs on social media, and you have to be link building. Through relationships. You have to be getting links pointing back to your website. Yep.
So I know advertising and marketing is taking a shift, and I learned a lot about it. Come to think of it, from our guest that's going to be on our next show. But for you, where is advertising heading, and how does a company actually sort of get ahead of the curve?
Another great question, Dr. Boyd. Everyone's in a bubble now. Right? We all have our own little sphere of influence, and I like using the word bubble because it's cuter. So we're all in a bubble, and going back a little bit further, so the word advertising comes from the Latin advertere and just means to turn towards something, right? So the second you grab somebody's attention, you're advertising, right? So within all of our spheres of influence, our little bubbles, are all of these people's attention, right? We all have Facebook followings. A lot of us have Twitter followings. We have, Google Plus. Like, we have these places where we're operating: Pinterest, Instagram, etc. So what's going to happen is people are going to still trust Google, but they're going to trust recommendations more. So right now, Facebook doesn't have a system like Yelp does, where there are a bunch of people that that are recommending things. But once that gap is bridged, and you can search on, and it may or may not be Facebook, whatever, I'll just use them as an example. But let's say you could search Facebook for an auto mechanic, and you get 15 reviews from friends of yours and friends of friends of yours, right? And people that that are talking about this business, and all of the people that you don't know, but it starts with the people that you do know. That's where advertising is heading. right? And so companies are going to start paying people to lie on their behalf and write fake reviews. That's already started. People are going to be paying people with larger spheres of influence to promote their products. That's absolutely happening. But it's really going to be targeting the general consumer more, because your power and my power as just consumers is just going to increase and increase and increase. And the model that Google has created, just the search model, that'll continue. It'll just become more relationship-based.
Okay. You know what? We're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we will be back with Kellen in just a moment.
Hey, are you a small business owner like me who wants to make a charitable contribution and needs easy access to charitable giving sources that you can automate for your business for free? Then I invite you to visit www.credit-cares.com. They have charitable giving options using their innovative merchant platform that helps nonprofits raise money and helps merchants make contributions at no additional cost to them using the products and services of Electronic Commerce International. Our giving options are easy to set up for small business. So if you have a business entity, we can donate in your business name. Go to www.credit-cares.com and see how you can make a difference every day by doing what you already do. Go to www.credit-cares.com and fill out the form or call 855-782-2737 for more information on how your business can be a difference maker in your community.
Okay, we're back, and this is the time where we do the Philantrepreneur Show tip. Aligning with our topic today, our next show in the spring edition of the Journal, and because too often entrepreneurs and especially nonprofits do not focus enough attention on it, let's talk advertising, PR, and marketing. Many people confuse or use these terms interchangeably, but there are some distinct differences, and here's a simple explanation. First of all, advertising is paid media. The paid, public, and non-personal announcements of a persuasive message by an identified sponsor. Public relation is earned media, a positive story that appears in a magazine, newspaper, TV station, or website. Or your story has some credibility because it was independently verified by a trusted third party rather than purchased. Now, the umbrella to both advertising and PR is marketing. The systematic planning, implementation, and control of a mix of business activities intended to bring together buyers and sellers or target audience for the mutually advantageous exchange or transfer of products. Both advertising and PR are components of the marketing process. And we'll be back right after this next commercial.
The Philantrepreneur is dedicated to your success. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com to find and explore a wide range of services and resources. Register and receive benefits such as training, early bird discounts, and the Philantrepreneur Journal, a nationally distributed bi-monthly digital publication serving everything Philantrepreneur, filled with tips, strategies, and resources to support your goals. Need more marketing exposure and have community impact? The Philantrepreneur is proud to offer Ads for a Cause, where 10% of your marketing purchase goes directly to charity. Contact us today to place your ad. Increase your reach in a professional digital publication or radio spot. It's a great marketing tool to send, post, or share in a variety of formats. Deadlines are on a rolling basis, so don't miss being included in the next publication. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com and click the Journal Marketing Ads tab today. Mention this show and get a 10% discount. www.thephilantrepreneur.com.
Well, welcome back as we continue our conversation with our guest today, Kellen Kautzman, partner of Advised Media Group. Did I say that right, Kautzman?
It's Kautzman.
Kautzman, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Sure. Apologize. Okay, well, Kellen, being in advertising and internet marketing, you probably come across a lot of organizations in the course of your research. What community projects are you involved in?
we have a project that is really, really fun, and I want to expand this as much as I can. It's called What Every Dog Deserves, and it's part of a parent group of what every blank deserves. And so I'm looking to fill in all those gaps, like what every mom deserves, etc. So it can be a brand experience. And the point of the site is to raise money for, whatever that happens to be. So using the What Every Dog Deserves example, having done SEO for such a long time, I really wanted to dig into social media and not just read about it, right? So just to take a project and do it on my own and see what I could do. So I started What Every Dog Deserves, and I Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus. Google Plus exploded, and I really didn't see it coming. So what I would do is I would take photos, like Creative Commons photos, like free license photos, and I would just create memes, right? I'd create little cute memes for little dog stuff like that. And then I would go on Google Plus and post it, but there's this feature in Google Plus that you might not be aware of called Google Plus Communities, and I highly recommend you look into that. For any business, you can find a community, but for dogs, it's particularly popular. And you instantly have access to hundreds of thousands of people. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like that online where you could just access these huge audiences for free, and they're these Google Plus communities. So as long as the content that you're providing is good, just go nuts, right? So I started posting, and every blog I did, it would go on Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, but then also these Google Plus communities. And what happens is in these Google Plus communities, people can +1 it or share it, and a lot of people do. So I would get tons of +1s and +1s and +1s. And what that does is Google says it doesn't affect rankings, but I don't believe them. And so all of a sudden my rankings started popping for this What Every Dog Deserves. So the point of the community is when people visit the site, there's an ad, right? It's AdSense. And if they click on it, we make X amount of money, or even if they don't, just the impressions make the money. And so the model is, let's find something that, someone's interested. I just happen to love dogs. So it doesn't feel like you're working. And you're just blogging and sharing videos and doing all the social media for this piece. And then the money that's generated from those ads can go into the work, right? Into, helping rescue dogs, into creating videos, right, about how people can help, that kind of thing. So it kind of self-funds. And I really love the concept, and I love that it blew up on Google Plus, and that it's over 1 million views, I think, at this point. And speaking of which, if anyone is interested and is listening to this and wants to be a part of this or even partner with me to do this project.
Me. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would love the help. I really would. I got a lot going on, and I really want to keep this going. But it's a little bit of a time commitment. So that's what Every Dog Deserves. Then, of course, I'm working with the Philantrepreneur to provide advertising consulting to nonprofits, helping them reach their target audience. And what that means is kind of what I was alluding to before, which is, you can, if you understand how to manage SEO, you don't have to write. You really don't. You don't. There are countless organizations that exist online today that are filled with writers. All you have to do is provide them with the topic, right? So you could, to use Heidi's company as an example, you could find an interesting story about, credit or interest rates changing or a new technology in the processing world, and you could give them that article and say, rewrite this. And part of their company's offering is that they will ensure that it's not plagiarized. So you get a piece of content back, you spend, let's say, $8 on it, and you just paste that right in your WordPress website. Or they can even upload it to your WordPress website. And then if you have a plugin on your website that automatically shares your posts, there's your social media. You're done. So all you really need to do is manage your SEO. You don't have to do your SEO. And that is easily a savings of $600, $700, $800 a month. And that's what I'm looking to help people understand and be able to do themselves.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we're going to be developing this partnership. You know, we're going to be presenting training and events and just different ways to share the knowledge and help the nonprofits move, I just say, from surviving to thriving. You know, we're with simple strategies that you just explained to me, and definitely I have to take note and actually implement that because you just taught me something just now. So I have to see how I can get that going. But you know, in our meeting, because beyond having that, as you titled the I-15 synchronicity meeting when I was in the car, we then met, you know, in person and really talked about some different things. And you sort of touched upon it, and maybe you've gone over it. But could you explain the real value of Google Plus for our listeners? Just or have you really sort of covered all of that?
No, I can come back to it because so Google Plus is so oftentimes it's just neglected, right? Because people think, you know, nobody's there, nobody's using it. But if you join the communities on Google Plus, here's the secret. So I'll get a little bit technical, but bear with me.
Okay.
So there are two different kinds of links. Okay, there is a do follow and a no follow link. A do follow link is a vote, right? So if it links back to your website, Google says, great, we're going to rank you better because you have a do follow link. A no follow link is a piece of code in a link where Google stops right there, or they say they do, where they don't give you credit for that link, right? So in Google Plus, there's a little link button when you're sharing. You have to hit that link button, and you have to add the link there for it to be a do follow link. Okay, you can't just copy and paste it in the description because that's a no follow link. It's a little piece of information for those that are doing this, but if you don't do it that way, you're missing out on a huge potential.
Okay, that will be our first training. I just put it on. I've just decided we are going to have a Google Plus practicum where they bring their computers in, and we actually do some things for them. Okay, I've just decided. I'm sorry.
That's good.
Went off on.
I'm for it.
Are you guys going to videotape these and put them as video training on the website or something for people who aren't in Las Vegas?
Absolutely. That's already yes. Okay. I'll yes.
The easy answer
we're making,
yes.
Yes. Those are called executive decisions that, you know, as Kellen's talking, I'm literally, my mind is spinning of, okay, how can we implement this? How can we do this? How, not only for the Philantrepreneur, but for the nonprofits that I want to serve, you know, as a foundation. My goal is to help them just build capacity, and this is an excellent way, you know. This has really been amazing. Insider tips on bumping up your internet and advertising effectiveness, you know. I've already got the training in mind, you know, knowing that many of our listeners are trying to handle some of these aspects themselves. What really specific tips would you provide them?
First off is if you're not in a WordPress website, I highly recommend that you move into that. There are very few instances where a WordPress website doesn't work. Sometimes, like take a car dealer, for example, they have to import all this data from the cars that they're buying and selling, that kind of thing, so that where WordPress doesn't work. But typically, in 95% of the instances, you can. And WordPress, if you're not familiar, is basically the Microsoft Word of websites. It is as simple and straightforward as you can get. And the plugins allow you to change it in any which way you want. So I highly recommend that, because if you have a WordPress website, I can come in and get you going in no time. If you're not on a WordPress website, there are some hoops we have to jump through and can get a little technical. Second, SEO is not nearly as technical as most people think it is. If you can write, you can do SEO. And we touched on this earlier. Just remember, Mrs. Google judging your homework, right? You just got to turn in your homework. Just turn it in, and you'll be fine. And then advertising is ultimately a competition, so understanding your competition is essential. having goals is amazing. Achieving those goals, being a dreamer, I'm definitely one of those people. But we also have to be realistic, right? And if it's difficult to understand your competition, that's where you get someone like me involved to help you understand it. But many times folks will, they'll fight a losing battle, and it's kind of sad, and it can be avoided, it can be prevented, or the strategy can change. So please make sure you know who you're fighting against, who your competition is, so that you can win.
Absolutely.
Well, Kellen, this has been really, really great information, and I know personally between our credit card processing business, which we've kind of already discussed, but really even the Foundation to Foster Empowerment, as much as I have a passion for helping the foster kids and aging out of foster care, and I have great plans around that, I don't know how to blog about it. And so I will be, seriously, I mean, it's one of those things, and I read great stuff, and I kind of go, but somebody else has written it. I never thought about asking somebody to kind of rewrite it. So that's something that I'm going to have to really learn, and I'm going to be contacting you to better understand. But so that I and other people like me can contact you, can you give our listeners the best way to get in touch with you and reach out for your services?
Absolutely. So my name is Kellen Kautzman, partner at Advise Media Group here in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Our main line is 702-951-7581. Again, that's 702-951-7581. Just ask for Kellen. You can also shoot an email to info@advisemediagroup.com, just asking to chat with me. Again, that is info, INFO, @advisemediagroup.com.
That was simple and great. I am so happy that you were on the show today to share your story, as a philantrepreneur, because that's what I consider you are.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yes, you are. But others out there listening, are you a philantrepreneur? Philantrepreneur with a story to tell? Do you have tips, strategies, or insight for today's entrepreneurs and nonprofits? Then we want you as a guest on our show. Everything can be found on our website. Just look for the radio show tab and submit the guest inquiry form. While there, please enjoy the archives of our past show. You can even hear a replay of this one. Next time coming up will be Michael Drew, author of Pendulum and originator of the we and me cycle theory of marketing. He will join us on March 4th. He also will be featured on the spring edition of the Philantrepreneur Journal. Now, before we close, I sort of have mixed feelings about the next announcement, and I'm sorry if I'm crying. But this will be Heidi's last show as co-host. Over the last 18 months, we've had an exciting journey, doing the show together, learning and meeting new people. I'm especially sad to lose her. However, success brings change, and I'm excited for the growth of her nonprofit, the Foundation to Foster Empowerment. She will be devoting more time to its development and serving the aging out foster children that desperately need her support. We definitely will hear from her in the future, get updates, and support her efforts. Heidi, do you have any comments before we sign off?
Well, now you're going to make me cry, too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's interesting, that you met Kellen on a phone call while driving in California, because I was actually on a road trip driving in California the first time you and I spoke on the phone. There's some interesting energy around that, I think. But
wow.
This really has been a fun, educational, exciting journey, and just creating this with you. I mean, and I do hope you'll have me back occasionally as a guest host. And I know through our friendship and your involvement with the Foundation of Foster Empowerment, we will be in each other's lives and hearts for a long time. So, as usual, well, actually, for the last time, this is Heidi Anderson and Victoria Boyd saying thank you for joining us today. And make sure to tune in a couple of weeks for Victoria's next show.
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. contact Victoria Boyd, email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.